Hey everybody, I'm James, the Perfection DJs, out here with Shane. He's holding the camera for us. So today we're going to talk about, number one, setting up your inputs on an Allen Heath CQ 12T or 18T. They both run the same software. And then the second part of this series will be how to use the feedback assistant the right way. So tonight what we're doing is we're going to pretend that we have a ceremony set up here. And so I've got my Everse 8 on a pole. I've got my Shure body pack with my Shure lav mic. Alright, and I have that routed into, let's go back to our inputs, into input 1. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is set our gain staging for this input. So we're going to go to our processing tab, and then, config, and then we have our input selected. Now something cool you can do, you can click this here and you can name your input and you can assign it a color if you wish. That way when you're on your fader screen, it has the color and the name would change here. But back on the config page, you make sure you have that input selected and then you can set your gain. Now, it does have a really cool auto gain setting where I can basically just sit here and talk into the microphone, and as you guys can see, that gain goes up until it detects that I'm at unity, and then it's going to lock it in for me. Now, what I don't like is that it turns the auto gain on, so that if I ever get really quiet, it will start jacking the gain up, but what it will not do is bring the gain down. So I'll always turn that off, my recommendation. Now, if you don't like the auto gain, you can always just do it yourself. You can either do it on the iPad here like I'm doing, or if we come over here, go to the config page, you can actually tap on that. You see how it lit up in yellow, and then you can use your scroll wheel here to make the adjustment. So I believe 36 is where we're at. I might put it down about 35. That's probably better right there. All right. So back out here to our fader screen. So this is our number one input. Now, when you're on your main send page, which you see how this main is highlighted in green, you want to make sure if we're using Feedback Assistant that this is all the way down. Now, if you're not going to use Feedback Assistant and this is your input here that's going to remain this way, from this page we can go over to Processing and we can actually click on PEQ, which is Parametric EQ, and we can start EQing our microphone, right? You can do a compressor, however you want, but tonight we're actually going to take this a step further and I'm going to show you guys how to set up the Feedback Assistant. So back on your fader page, what we want to do is while you're on main, this is zeroed out. Now we want to select an output. Now the Allen Heath CQ line have, whether it's the 12 or the 18, have 6 outputs. So let's come over here. So these are your physical outputs. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are 1/4 inch, and then 7, 8 are going to be XLR, and these are your main left and right. So tonight we're just running an XLR cable up to our Everse 8 for the purpose of this demonstration. But back to what I was saying. You want to select a physical output that you're going to have dedicated as a feedback assistant. So what you're going to need for that is a 1/4 inch TRS cable. I've got one over here. And we want to make sure that the end that you plug into the CQ is TRS, and that stands for tip ring sleeve. The reason why, even though we're using a mono signal here and not stereo, is because it has stereo capability. It can actually send the signal both ways for noise canceling. That way, if you were to get some type of hum or feedback, like an electrical cable nearby or something like that, it would actually phase cancel that out so that you would not get the buzzing that you could get with a standard TS cable. Now, the 1/4 inch that we plug into the output that we assign, which for this demonstration will be output 1. The other end can either be 1/4, which again, make sure it's TRS, or it could be XLR. So if you look here, you can see on the 18, inputs 1 through 8 are XLR only, but inputs 9 through 16 are 1/4 inch TRS/XLR combo. All right, so if you wanted to do XLR and you wanted the input to be up here, you would just need a 1/4 to XLR. But for tonight's demonstration, we're going to go into input 9. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to select output 1, and we're going to make sure that we bring this microphone that we have plugged up into input 1 up to Unity. What that's going to do is make sure that fader 9 or input 9 sees that. So watch, when I bring this all the way down and we go to input selection 9 through 16, we don't have anything here. But when I go back and I put this one all the way up to Unity, then when we go back, now we have signal chain coming in. So we want to, on channel 9, which is what we're inputting from the output, I know that sounds weird, okay? Stick with me. We want to basically make sure that the main XLR, or the main left and right, is getting that signal. So I can hear my voice coming out of the speaker right now. Check, yep, I hear it pretty well. Right now, our feedback assistant is not set. We have Unity set, we have our gain structure set, but we haven't activated the feedback assistant. Now, by default, feedback assistant is on for all outputs, but there is a hold on it that you have to remove for it to be active. So we go to our output page, we go to processing, and now do you guys see the orange feedback assistant? So out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then your mains, which is 7 and 8. Because it's orange, that means that it's active and on. But it won't actually start pulling things down until you take the hold off of it. So I'm going to show you guys, we're going to select output 1. And now you can see the hold's off. Now, because I had this on before, you would, when you first open this, the hold would be on. You pull the hold off, and now it's going to start detecting feedback. Now, if you're doing a ceremony or something where somebody's doing speeches and talking, you probably want to pull your live recovery all the way down to off. What that means is that as we start pulling frequencies out of the mix, when those frequencies aren't feeding back anymore, the system will automatically pull those frequencies back up to recover back to default. But during a ceremony where you've rang out the room and you've done your feedback check beforehand, you don't want it to do that before the ceremony starts. So make sure your live recovery is off, okay? So now watch what happens. I'm going to pull the mic up to me closer, and I'm literally a foot from the speaker. We're going to intentionally cause it to feedback, and you're going to see a lot of this EQ automatically working on its own. So check 1, 2, check 1, 2. Check 1, 2, check 1, 2. So now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to start jacking the gain up as if, somebody was talking really quiet on the mic and I had to increase it. So that's going to cause a lot of ringing and feedback. I can already hear a little bit. Let's put the mic up to it. Check 1, 2. So now we'll walk away a little bit further. Now we have a really good sound. I've got a little high-end feedback frequency there. It'll start taking out. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. All right. So now if you can pan the camera back to me. So anybody that's ever DJed before, I hear it. Let's see if we can detect it. There it goes. It's pulling it out. So anybody that's ever done a ceremony before knows that with this type of lab mic, which is a very sensitive cardioid lab mic, they're just super prone to feeding back. And this probably would not be a possibility at any ceremony that we do with the gain. Come over here and look. I've got this jack all the way up 10 dB. So it's louder than it would ever be. And we have no reason for it to be this loud. But we're just doing this intentionally for the video to show the feedback assistant working. So this is something that you would do beforehand. Hopefully when there's nobody in the room, you would be able to go and do your mic checks, get your feedback assistant working so that everything is locked in place. And that way when you're doing your ceremony, it's flawless. If you have an officiant who is very low with their vocal speaking voice, you could put the gain up on them and not worry about the feedback as much. All right. Now, something to note here. The reason why we do what we do, coming out of a dedicated output into a dedicated input, is because if you actually do this on the mains, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to go to our mains, and I'm going to actually have this be our feedback assistant. So it's going to feedback here just a little bit. Check 1 2. 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 All right. So for this demonstration, what I'm showing you guys is I have a song playing on this iPad. Let me get this mic back on. And the reason why we don't apply the feedback assistant to your mains is because now all these EQ dips are going to be applied to this song. So I know it's hard to tell over camera, but the more dips we have, so if we went back to output 1, all of this here would be pulling out of that music. And the music would sound horrible because we've EQ'd all these frequencies out. That's why we don't use the mains as a feedback assistant. So you want to make sure that that's turned off. Now, if you're somebody who wants to keep the feedback assistant on a dedicated channel, let's say that input 9 is going to be your dedicated channel for this. What you can do is come into your processing page, and then you can actually EQ it. And so like a high pass, I would do, let's see if I can do this with the, I'd probably do about 120 hertz high pass, and then on the low pass, I'd probably do 8,000 hertz-ish. And then right here, I would probably try to filter out around 400. That's kind of the mud of the mix, if you will. And then over here, I'm going to boost probably around 4,000. And that's just a generic EQ that you could change for whoever was talking. But you could just leave it. And so that if you've got a male who's really boomy, you could bring it up for the high pass. Or a female, you could bring down if you wanted. And then same thing on your low pass, up or down as needed. But with that on, automatically it's going to start sounding a lot better in our mix. And with that EQ, like I'm literally right next to this microphone, and I would never imagine to do this with this type of microphone with 36 decibels of gain and my fader at Unity. It just wouldn't be possible without using the feedback assistant. So anyway, I hope this helps. If you got any questions, let me know. Shane and I are always here to help because perfection is in the details.